When my mom had just left the house that day, my stepfather had gone out quietly. I didn't pay much attention, I just assumed he had gone to work. Every day after breakfast, I started cleaning in the kitchen, washing the dishes, and tidying up the remaining plates. The area was quiet, only the sound of running water from the tap and the clinking of plates against each other. I was so absorbed in my other tasks that I didn't notice a figure approaching from behind. Suddenly, a firm hand wrapped around my waist and squeezed tightly. I was startled by an unexpected sensation. My breath caught. It was my stepfather. His breath was close to my ear and sent goosebumps down my spine. I tried to struggle as a shiver ran down my spine, but that hand was holding me tightly, not letting me move. At that moment, waves of fear and panic surged through me. The familiar kitchen suddenly became a cramped, suffocating place. I could hardly breathe, and from that moment on, a frightening story began. Hello everyone, my name is Evelyn. I am 22 years old and I live with my husband. I have been with my mother since I was a child because my father passed away when I was young. My mother, Yisa, was a strong and resilient woman. She sacrificed a lot to raise me. My childhood was full of love and care from my mother. Our life was not always easy, but my mother taught me to be independent and to stand strong against all odds. Everything changed that day when my mother told me she had met someone special. I was 18 years old, and I was quite surprised when my mom told me that she wanted to take this relationship further. After my father's death, my mom didn't pay much attention to love affairs. But this time, it was different. Her eyes were sparkling, and there was always a smile on her face. Her happiness surprised me and made me a little nervous. He told me he wanted me to meet this special man. The day we met, I saw Aiden, my future stepfather. Aiden was a young and attractive man for his age. He was tall, blue-eyed, and charismatic. Even though he was much younger than my mom, he seemed to fit in quite well. Still, something didn't quite sit right with me. Why did this man choose my mother? I thought. My mother was still very beautiful, even though she was in her 40s, but I suspected that there might be something hidden behind Aiden's interest. I asked her many times, "Mom, why is he marrying you? Could it be that a man so young has other intentions?" My mother scolded me seriously. "Evelyn, the age difference is not important. Love trumps everything. Aiden loves me for who I am," she said. I tried to believe my mother's words, but my doubts didn't completely go away. Over time, I realized that there was something strange about the way Aiden looked at me, his eyes roaming over me in a way I wouldn't expect from a stepfather. In front of my mother, he was kind and attentive to her, but when we were alone, his behavior was strange. I kept this uneasiness to myself so as not to upset my mother. Aiden gradually became an official part of the family. At first, everything was normal, but soon the atmosphere in the house changed. Even at family dinners, there was a strange tension between us. I didn't dare to say anything to my mom about Aiden because I was afraid of spoiling her happiness. One day, when I got home from school, I went to the bathroom to throw my laundry in the washing machine. The next morning, after taking a shower, I wrapped myself in a towel and left the room to get my underwear. But when I came back, I realized that my underwear was missing. At first, I thought I had misplaced it. I searched the bathroom, the closets, and everywhere, but I couldn't find it. That's when I had a disturbing feeling. My heart started beating fast, but I couldn't share this incident with anyone. I was in the bathroom before I showered, but now they were gone without a trace. I quickly changed and walked into the living room. Mom and Aiden were there watching something on TV. They both looked perfectly normal. Mom laughed when she saw a funny scene on the screen. After a brief hesitation, I spoke. "Mom, Stepdad, I was just in the bathroom. I finished showering, but I think something is missing." They both turned to look at me. My mother asked in surprise, "What did you lose?" I hesitated for a moment, trying not to go into too much detail, and just said, "Well, a personal item. My underwear was in the bathroom, but I can't find it now." Aiden smiled slightly and shook his head. "No one's been in the bathroom. Maybe you left it somewhere else," he said. Mom nodded in agreement. "Try to remember, maybe you put it somewhere else without realizing it. We were here all morning," she added. I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I nodded and went back to my room, thinking to myself, maybe I really did leave it somewhere and I don't remember. But this strange feeling inside me wouldn't go away. I tried to convince myself that I shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I told myself it was no big deal, but part of me wondered, if I didn't quit, then what's going on? From that day on, the incident of my underwear disappearing stayed with me. I was haunted by this feeling that I couldn't explain. I began to feel like I was being watched all the time. When I took a shower and looked out the frosted glass of the bathroom window, I could vaguely see a silhouette. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it, but over time, it seemed as if a shadow was moving. It would appear on the bathroom door for a few seconds and then disappear. One night, I was in the bathroom, trying to relax under the hot water, when I saw the same shadow again. It was outside the door. My heart began to beat rapidly. "Who's there?" I called out, but there was no answer. Gathering my courage, I approached the door. I looked to get a better look, but the shadow had disappeared. I opened the door and went out into the hallway. No one was there except for the light from the living room. I tried to tell myself that what I was seeing was just a reflection, but a sense of unease followed me into every corner of the house. When I walked down the hallway at night, I always had the feeling that someone was watching me, and when I turned around, I found an empty hallway. One day I went back to the bathroom and my missing underwear had mysteriously reappeared. But instead of comforting me, it only made me more anxious. Just then, Aiden came out of the bathroom carrying a towel. "I was getting a towel for your mom," he said and smiled gently at me. But this scene kept echoing in my brain. I started to observe Aiden's movements more carefully. He was always calm and perfect in his demeanor, but this calmness did nothing but make me uneasy. After that day, things got even stranger. One Saturday morning, my mom and Aiden had gone to work. I was home alone, and as I ate breakfast and hung out in the living room, everything seemed normal. But the silence of the house echoed in my ears. I started to feel more and more uneasy every second. Sunlight filtered in from outside, illuminating the room through the window. It was a familiar sight as always, but today it gave me a strange feeling. As I bent down to pick up a few things, suddenly a hand touched my waist and squeezed. I froze in shock, gasping for breath, feeling indescribable fear and confusion in my chest. I stood still, not knowing what to do. A voice from behind me broke the silence. "You're so sweet, Evelyn." It was Aiden's voice. My heart felt like it was going to stop for a moment. I tried to pull myself together, but fear gripped my body. I started to struggle. "Let me go!" I shouted, but my voice was shaky and weak. Aiden chuckled softly, bringing his breath close to my neck. "Calm down, Evelyn. I just wanted to play a little," he said. But those words panicked me more than they calmed me. I shouted again, "Stop! I told you to stop." I protested. Fear and anger mixed together in my voice, but instead of letting go, Aiden held me tighter. "You're so tense, Evelyn," he said slowly, his voice filled with a dark tone. I was only joking, but it didn't feel like a joke. The way it felt was far from a joke. Every word echoed in my ears, deepening my fear. I tried to free myself. I tried to push my hands away, but he was holding me tightly. "What are you? Let go of me!" I screamed, trying with all my strength to resist him. But Aiden only hugged me tighter and leaned down to whisper in my ear, "I've wanted you since the first time I saw you." Those words hit me like a blow, and I was horrified by what I heard. "What? What are you saying?" I stammered, but my voice had lost its power. Aiden's eyes shone with determination. "She's not your mom, Evelyn. You're the only one I want," he said. In that moment, I felt like everything froze, and the only thing that echoed in my mind was that horrible sentence. It shattered me that a man who trusted and loved my mother had said that. "You? How could you think such a thing? How could you?" I shouted, but he continued as if he didn't hear a word I was saying. "Just this once. I promise your mother will never know," he said. The pleading in his voice was mixed with determination. "You're a despicable man. How could you do this to me?" I screamed, but there was no remorse in his eyes. His power and control had left me completely helpless. In that moment, everything became a blur. If you are curious about the rest, subscribe to the channel and make yourself known in the comments.